In 2023, I made a short film entitled Sustained Reaction. It was a 16-minute science fiction film about a planetary catastrophe. It won Best Science Fiction Short at more than a few film festivals, including the Montreal Independent Film Festival and the Berlin Independent Film Festival. It also got nominated at several others. It had a pretty good run, and I felt was generally successful. However, there were several mistakes I made, several issues I had with the story and the way I put the whole thing together that I might do differently if I had to do it all over again. More importantly, I learned that sometimes if you've got a twist ending, you can underplay it to the point that people don't even know it's a twist ending. When I made Sustained Reaction, I was making it from the standpoint of a full-length feature film idea I had developed before I made the short film version. The short film version was essentially the kind of the marketing pitch version, I would say, present to a studio to make a full-length version. In the case of Sustained Reaction, I actually had the feature film limited series because I have two ideas for it as a 2.5 hour film or a 3 to 4 hour limited series, where I had written out the story and the scenario and everything that went along with it. But of course, I didn't have the budget to do that. So I truncated it into a 16-minute short film. And in doing so, removed all of the extra characters, situations, and flashbacks that were contained in the original work. And in doing that, I think I made the film almost indecipherable to a lot of people. Now, I'm going to provide a link to it. If you want to go watch it, you can. You don't have to. But if you want to, you can. And then you can come back here afterwards and see if you got any of it correct. If you didn't, it's my fault, don't worry, not yours. Because I'm pretty sure I didn't make it as clear as I could have made it. But I would be curious if some of you did want to go watch it and then come back if you did pick up on any of this. I will, however, say, for the people who then watched it after I discussed this with them, they said they enjoyed it more knowing what was going on in the background. In a nutshell, here's the story. So if you don't want to watch it, you're going to get the whole story now anyway. So here it comes. Basically, it is an interview with an old man 30 years after the entire planetary collapse of the atmosphere. The whole atmosphere surrounding the planet has collapsed. Everyone is living in underground bunkers. Everyone is surviving on protein pills and basic refiltered urine. Obviously, it's a pretty meager existence. The reason the planetary atmosphere collapsed was because they had already destroyed the climate so much that they were trying to come up with a new energy system that would allow them to clean up the atmosphere and then keep going and powering everything without any further damage. But when they were doing that, the energy experiment, where they were trying to achieve a sustained reaction, went awry and led more towards chain reaction than sustained reaction. And, well, everything kind of went to shit. Now, in the short film, 30 years later, they're interviewing the main scientist who was involved in this energy experiment that went wrong. They're asking him why they did what they did, what their goals were, what they were trying to do. describe the day the accident happened, and then give us your lessons for after the accident. What would you do differently, so on and so forth. As they talk with him, it becomes very clear that he's quite testy whenever they bring up his brother, and he's also quite testy whenever they bring up his wife. You can see a little bit of that here.
My brother and I worked for the National Laboratory, planetary lab, for the restoration of the atmosphere.
Right. And your brother's name was...
I don't use my brother's name anymore.
Okay.
She was at home, and so I never.
And she's also very fundamental to your work, correct? You could show us.
Don't use her name.
Then the interview concludes and the credits roll, and I honestly think the reason it did so well at several different festivals was because people kind of just saw it as a climate, environmental warning, science fiction, dystopia film, environmental warning type movie. But when I asked people about it, family and friends, as well as people at festivals who had watched it, and I always asked two questions. The first was, so what did you think of the reveal at the end? And unfortunately for me, because it really signaled how bad a job I had done at this, I got, except for one person, literally only one, from everyone else I got, but what reveal? What do you mean? One person. That was it. One person got it. One person was like, oh yeah, that was wild. It takes place blank and blank. And I was like, yes, thank you. Oh my God, somebody saw that. But it was just the one person. Then I would ask about the background of the old man being interviewed. And again, most people would like, well, I mean, I don't know, he was a scientist. He was working on the project. And I said, yeah, but did you get anything else about him? No, I don't know. He seemed upset about his brother and his wife, but I didn't really get much else. And again, I had one who was like, yeah, I think he did this, this, and this. And I said, yes, thank you. He did. So what did he do, and what's the reveal? Well, here's how I start the film. Basically, it's saying that, there's no technology, nothing's been developed. They're using old film stock they have found and old cameras, and they're going to try and process this and put it together, and they're going to interview this guy. Then after you see those title cards, you get this opening montage.
We need to execute or to shut it down. You need to shut it down.
Now, that opening montage contains a few different clips that get seen throughout the short film. First, there's this one. That gets shown a few times. We keep, when I say we, me, I'm the filmmaker, when I keep showing that, I keep kind of returning to that. I'll do a little flashbacks where I show that kind of, that panicked point of view run. where you're getting that POV run and you're hearing the heavy breathing and so on. I also show the vehicle driving on the road. I show that a couple of different times as well, and I show a different version of it here.
As far away, as fast as we could.
And I show clips of him in the lab on the day of the failed experiment. And in those clips, he's with his brother, as you can see here.
You'll even be able to watch this. I don't know if they even will. Surprised there's any footage at all of any tests.
We do have a little 5-second loop of you and your brother from the security. I believe it's when the containment was breaking down. And that's you there, right?
Yeah, that's me. That's me in the white shirt.
And that's your brother.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we looking at here?
What are we looking at here? We're looking at a man shitting his pants because the entire fucking world's about to end.
And of course, when his brother is mentioned as to what happened to his brother after the meltdown, he says this.
And your brother?
No, he didn't make it. He didn't.
So you were lucky.
Yeah, lucky me.
And then, of course, gets testy about his wife. So, with all that, I thought, at least for me, as the filmmaker, I'm making this really clear. I'm making this abundantly clear. People are going to get this. People are going to put this together. They're going to know what I'm talking about here. They're going to know. And yet, when I would ask them, nope, nothing. So, what is going on there? Well, in the scene with the car, he says that everybody fled.
Several miles away in the observation lab, and that was a couple of miles away from the emergency bunkers. Everybody, when I say we, I mean every single person on the premises fled. We got into vehicles, and we just got as far away as fast as we could.
And that's important because every time I show the fleeing, it's just the one vehicle. Every time. Everybody in the whole facility fled? Then why are we only seeing one car? Then I show this again and again. The running. Does that sound like an entire laboratory of people running for their lives? Or does it sound like just one guy running? Then there's the brother in him at the day of the disaster.
And that's your brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says this.
And your brother?
No, he didn't make it.
Your brother didn't make it? Your brother who was literally standing next to you? If you all fled at the same time, how'd you make it but he didn't? He was right there. And of course, the reason is, and this is what I thought I was making so clear, but I don't think I, in the end, did, is that nobody fled. He fled. He was a coward. When everything started to go sideways, everyone in that laboratory, including his brother, stayed until the last second to try and shut everything down and save the planet. And he hit the road. He ran for his life. He got out of there, and he saved himself. And that's why he's bitter and angry and alone. And that's why his wife's name being brought up bothers him. Because even fleeing like he did in those last moments would have been somewhat acceptable if the purpose of his fleeing was to drive as fast as he could to his home to be with his wife one last time. But he didn't do that. He drove to the bunker.
And
when that moment came for him to be able to prove who he was, it turned out he was a coward. And unlike the character in the Red Badge of Courage, who can then go back and redeem himself, he can't. Everybody's dead. The planet's destroyed. There's no redemption for him at all. And that was something that I thought I was making clear, but I clearly wasn't, which I'll discuss why in just one second. But then there's the other reveal, the big twist at the end that only one person got. And that one person said, yeah, it takes place on Venus, right? And I went, yes, it takes place on Venus. Thank you. Now, Venus, if you've studied the planet or watched any number of science documentaries on it, you will know it is the hottest of the inner planets, hotter than Mercury even. You will know that it has the highest pressure of any of the inner planets, that it is a crushing pressure, which is why the boulders that were photographed by the Soviet Venera probes are just flattened rocks, because the pressure has crushed and melted everything down. The clouds are sulfuric acid. Venus is the result of a devastatingly runaway greenhouse effect. How this happened, of course, isn't entirely known, although there's generally fairly good understandings of what went on with the atmosphere. But for the purposes of my science fiction tale, I was going with it once had a thriving civilization. They destroyed it. They caused the runaway greenhouse effect. And now all evidence of them is gone. The reason I thought this would be clearer is because throughout the movie, I show Venus. These shots right here, that's Venus. That's Venus. You can find maps of how the planet might have been pre-greenhouse effect with continents and oceans. Now, whether it really ever had enough water on it for oceans or not is I don't think very scientifically accepted. But again, we're talking science fiction here, guys. I'm not going with absolute truth on the science of Venus here. For the purposes of the science fiction, I'm going with, yes, it once had oceans and continents, and they destroyed the entire environment and the entire atmosphere, and what happened. And it became this desolate, horrible, uninhabitable place in which, over the course of a couple of billion years, the pressures and the heat would truly destroy, melt, and evaporate away any remnant of evidence of any civilization that had ever existed there, which the lead character basically says.
So we can be remembered.
Remember who?
Those who come after us.
Nobody's coming after us.
Well, I mean...
Who? Who are you talking about?
Well, I mean, there's going to be other...
We're done. The atmosphere is turning into pure sulfuric acid. The pressure is increasing daily. There's not even going to be... What?
Let's say, somebody else might discover us.
No, nobody's going to discover us. Nobody's going to find us.
Maybe another civilization from another planet.
There aren't going to be mountains. Okay, the heat and pressure are increasing. Everything is going to be gone. There will be no evidence that we ever existed.
And he then makes it clear that they're on Venus.
If the third or the fourth planet out, if they've got oceans, they might develop life. If they develop intelligent life, eventually, by the time that happens, we're just going to be a shiny, cloud-covered planet in their night sky. They're not going to think twice about us.
I mean, he says the third planet. That's us. That's Earth. He's saying that as if it's another planet, not the one he's on. So clearly, he's not on Earth. Now, one of the reasons I think this failed was because I had developed the story as a feature-length film or slash a limited series. And in that film slash series, what happens is this. It begins the same way, with the old man being interviewed. Then we go into flashback. And then for the next hour, hour and a half, we see him and his brother and his wife, who are both major characters in the story. They're not in the short film at all, but in the movie, they are. Throughout the film, you then get slow reveals that let you know, oh my God, this is Venus. And you then get to see, near the climax, what happened. Throughout the movie, you're just seeing the flashbacks interspersed with interview bits by him and how everybody fled and all that, until you get to the climax when you actually see the final day. And you see what really happened. You see that he ran. And so I had all of that in my head. And I think because I had all of that in my head, and because it was obviously so clear to me because I knew the whole story, I was thinking that the way I was presenting it in the short film was making it just as clear. But it wasn't. At least, not from the feedback I got. So I would make that a little more clear now. And in fact, even though the film is only 60 minutes, I would probably make it explicitly clear in the last couple of minutes by showing him fleeing instead of staying. I probably would have just done that. I would have changed that absolutely 100%. If I do ever get around to making the feature film of it, it will end a different way. I won't say how because I don't want to reveal that before I make the movie. But that was the one part that I could not in any way include in the short film, nor did I want to. Because if it got to the point where someone wanted to work with me on making this into a feature, I wanted my original ending to be kind of preserved and never revealed by somebody seeing it in the short film. I really like my original ending a lot. I mean, the result is the same. The planet is dead. That doesn't change. But there's more of an emotional gut punch in the final shot that I did not do on purpose for the movie. It was very fun doing the movie, by the way. And obviously I would do things differently, but one thing I do want to say to any short film creators out there, because I did have a lot of success with it, I got to go to a lot of different cities, and I got to talk to a lot of different people, and it was very fun. It was a fun experience overall. It really was. My main thing that I would say to any short filmmakers out there, anybody aspiring to be a short filmmaker, is to just make the damn film. Just do it. I used my phone. I mean, look, I never get out of the way of the camera in these videos, but this is my, my Blackmagic design making camera here. I did not use this. Yeah, I didn't even use that. All I had at the time was my phone, and so I used my phone. And then I just used my computer and Photoshop to draw the sets that I green screened and put behind me. I had to draw the backgrounds in Photoshop. I had to green screen myself. I had to take frames of my face and do the whole aging process thing with Photoshop. And then you take the frame and you put it into CellSync and they draw that on each frame. And if you're doing that on your own computer, which I was, the rendering time for that was forever. It took forever forever to get that done. But I had to do it. I mean, he had to be 30 years into the future, and I did not have the luxury of makeup skills to be able to do that practically. So I had to do it in Photoshop. But it was such a rewarding experience. And there's a shot in the movie that my favorite shot in the whole movie is where he talks about how he can't go outside anymore, because the air is just sulfuric acid at this point, and how much he used to love just being outside and hearing the ocean and all that. And I do this shot that I made where I show him as a young man, and he becomes the bitter old man in the same shot. And you see his wife only ever just in a brief clip from behind with her hair blowing. And the main thing that I got out of it was that I proved that I could do it by myself. I'm the old man, obviously. I'm also the old man's brother. That's also me. Photoshopped off my hair. There's a reporter interviewing. That's me. I photoshopped off the beard and took off the glasses and redid the hair, and that's rendered it over the frames I shot there. The speeding car, that was just me drawing my car. This is my car. That's my car. And that's my car. So what I did is I just took it and I just did about 10 frames of it, shaking, blurring, moving up and down. I kind of put them all together with that sound effect like this. And it gave the illusion of movement. I mean, that's it. That's literally all that was. Because again, you can do these things. You can be creative with zero budget, with nothing. You can be creative. You can get stuff done. You really can. The car on the road from above, the aerial view, I just took a random desert terrain. I put a road down the middle of it, like basic Photoshop stuff. And then I literally just, did a PNG of a little white vehicle. So it would be a transparency. So I could literally just put the transparency over the desert. And then, you just, like a multiplaning, you just move the car over the static desert shot so it looks like there's a car driving. Literally everything you see in the movie is just me putting pictures together on my computer using PNG transparencies and multiplaning and Photoshop. But I got it done. And I was happy with it. And of course I did the music all myself because I do my own music. So the music throughout it, it's all the music I wrote. Closing credits music, everything, all did that myself. Edited it, directed it, wrote it, started it. So you can get it done. If you want to make a short film and you're thinking to yourself, but I can't do it. It's just me. You can. I played myself, my brother, a reporter. The voice who's interviewing the old man is me. And that wasn't easy. I mean, because I had to overlap myself and cut myself off and get into arguments with myself. That took a lot of finessing to make that work, but you can do it.
If you can even process it.
So we can be remembered.
Remember who?
Those who come after us.
Nobody's coming after us.
Well, I mean...
Who? Who are you talking about?
Well, I mean, there's going to be other...
We're done. There's not even going to be... What?
Let's say, somebody else might discover us.
No, nobody's going to discover us. Nobody's going to find us.
You can get it done. You can make an entire film yourself. You really can. And again, this was 2023. Now, at this point, seriously? It's that much easier. Oh my God, you could just replicate yourself with different looks and different outfits and populate a film with 12 characters all played by you. I mean, seriously. So if you have any ideas at all about making a movie, but you're not sure if you should go ahead and do it, go ahead and do it. You can do it. Trust me, I did it. It was ultimately one of the more rewarding artistic endeavors I've ever done. I highly recommend doing it. And just make sure when you're doing it that you're not just doing it based on what you know. Just understand that there's an audience that also has to know some things about the characters to fully get it, or you will make the most under-the-radar twist ending in history, which is what I apparently did. That's about all I've got for now. Thanks for following me along on this. I appreciate it. If you liked it, give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps. And everybody out there, especially if you're fleeing from something, drive safely.